Hey, Christina.
All right. Thank you. Great or no? Well, your discussion.
We'll see.
Ready to argue?
I say that out loud. I'm supposed to think that, not actually speak
So at this time, please make sure you've silenced all your cell phones. I'm going to start calling people out because it's fun. Does anybody want to do the prayer this morning? Last call. Okay, great. So I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order at 9:30 in the morning. Present this morning is Vice President William Link, Treasurer Deborah Isaacs, and myself constituting a quorum. Director Dan Sullivan is on vacation and he has an excused absence. Also present is the Executive Secretary. The Executive Officer is out sick today. Please rise for the invocation, which we will it's going to be a moment of silence. And then remain standing for the reciting of the pledge to the United States and Texas flags.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Directors, the minutes from the June 2019 board meeting were provided in your packets on Friday. There were several corrections that needed to be amended, and so the amendments are what is in front of you this morning. I'll give you a second to take a look at them, or I can just highlight them for you, whichever you prefer. For the meeting notes. There we go. Does anyone have any corrections?
I do not.
Okay. So if there are no corrections, all in favor of approving the minutes as distributed, signify by raising your hand. Any opposed? Okay. Motion passes unanimously. The minutes are approved. Director on call.
Okay.
Oh, I apologize. They're the same thing this month. Treasurer's report and director on call. You got the helm.
Hello. Good morning, everybody.
Please turn that phone off.
I know, I'm
Thank you, ma'am.
Well, the day after the board meeting last month, my duties as director on call kind of stepped in because the director on call was working at the time. So after the meeting, I went home and finished filling out a paperwork that we needed filed so I could be the representative of Fort Clark Springs on the tax protest. So I finished that and I took it over because they didn't tell me where I was supposed to take it or what to do with it. I went over and one of the employees there sat down and we went through the taxes, the proposed tax rate they were going to go up on us. And we sat there for about 2.5 hours and Went over the taxes, we debated and done some stuff, and I got the taxes down to about half of what the proposed fee that they were going to charge us. So I called the rest of the board, and they all agreed that we were going to not have our protest hearing. We decided to take what they had offered to give us. On 6/20, I had some member complain about common property not getting mowed. I went out and talked to the person, looked at the issues, come back and talked to the employees up here, and talked with Philip. Philip had it mowed in 3 days. Happy customer. They called me, sent me an email, and told us what a great job. They appreciated somebody caring about their concerns. 6/22 through the 25th, we had the big water leak down at the swim park. That was a lot of information, a lot of going back and forth, talking with Philip, talking with the MUD, sending the photos and the information to the membership. Later in the afternoon, I had a customer in, found out that we did not have any pressure to the motel, had to call Philip. Philip called MUD, and they tried to get that water back on that afternoon, but it did not happen until the next day. So that was from the 22nd through the 25th. 6/25, I helped create a real estate flyer for Gabby for our Fort Clark properties that are going to be for sale. We have one house at this time, and we tried to get onto Zillow, but because we are a business and no particular owner, they wouldn't let us set up a Zillow account to advertise those properties. But we did get a Facebook page set up, and y'all all have a link to that in some of your minutes somewhere. But if you want to see the lots, we're going to add some of the lots on there, take some photos of the lots, and we're going to actively try to sell some of the Fort Clark lots and things that we have for sale as far as real estate itself. 6/27, found out that our TCEQ compliance documentation, our letter of credits were not up to date. Actively got that, and we got that signed, and we're good with that to go now. On 6/27, auditors were having some problems finding some information. I come up and tried to help some of the girls find that information. I think we've got everything to the auditors that was needed. Worked with Philip on another member complaint. I met with Linda O'Brien over some issues with the fencing down at the barn. I think Philip is involved in that now, but we did do that. I was called up here many days, and then with the 4th of July going on, there were some extra checks that needed to be signed off on 3 different properties that the fort had sold. One day in the near future, we're going to shut down the accounting office for an afternoon and bring our CPA in and try to give some training to our actual accounting department so they can learn how to do some of these reports, so we don't have to wait a full month to get some of the reporting that we'd like to see. On July the 15th, I met with Chad Potts, the guy that actually does our internet service. He's going to be presenting a packet to the board on how we actually are charged for our internet service. The big concern was how to better serve the RV park on internet service. So he's going to put out something so the board can actually look at some items there. Another big issue with a member was an ex-employee. Every time somebody didn't answer the RV phone, it was going to her personal cell phone. I had Mr. Potts get that off of there, and he assures me her number is no longer on that account. I was up on July the 16th to verify some figures and to get a profit and loss statement for the board meeting. So that's actually my report, but as director on call, just for information purposes, To the membership, the tree trimming project had 25 volunteers. We want to thank every one of y'all for your volunteer help on that tree trimming project. Pine clocks were installed and are being used. The 4th of July celebration was a great event. I've had several personal emails and things on the 4th of July, and we will be hosting next year's event also. The door installation is to begin on the 19th. The motel rooms have been blocked to renovate. Anybody that would like a volunteer to help renovate those motel rooms, we need all kinds of help up there. Swim park was evaluated by an engineer from the Army Corps of Engineers, and the board will receive a report in the next week or so, and we'll discuss at the August board meeting. That's pretty much my report on Director on Call. On the treasurer's report, you're not going to get the profit and loss statement this month. It went in the paper last month. I'm not comfortable giving our profit and loss statement when I was told it would not go into the paper, but it did get in the paper last month. So what you're going to get this month is some information on some of the financials of sales. One thing I think that people need to realize is on a monthly basis, before we buy one nut, one piece of paper, or anything, we're spending out approximately $158,192.94. This includes payroll, insurance, phones, electric, water, our internet. But before we spend one thing on repairs, maintenance, or anything, we spend out $158,192.94. One of the big items that I think that the membership needs to know is the electric bill. On our electric bill, on a monthly basis, our electric bill is anywhere from $10,000 to $14,000 a month. This includes all of our buildings, our night lights, and then we actually have 2 electric companies that we have to account for. On a given month, our water bill is $3,500, and that gives or take. If you have water leaks and nobody's noticed them, then your water bill goes up. That's one of the things I am also monitoring, is the water meters themselves, so we can kind of keep an eye on that. Our building fire insurance, that bill pretty much runs us somewhere around $12,000 a month. A little over, a little less, but that includes our building, errors and emissions, and our vehicle insurance policies. So I hope y'all enjoyed that part of the financials this month. I don't know if that's what you want to hear or not, but I think it's very important that we know what we're paying. I also, during the last month, have closed out a $25,000 impound fund that was put into effect at Texas Community Bank. It was taken out of the bank and trust and opened up in Del Rio for the Texas community. There has not anything been done with that account, nothing done with it, no inputs, no outgoes on it. So I brought that back over to the bank and trust here in Bracketville and put it back into the impound fund here. The $25,000 now, it had monthly fees being charged to it. So I couldn't see a reason why we had that extra account for no reason when it hadn't been touched. Also, the flag account, it came back over here to Bank and Trust. We closed that account down also, because if we needed to go get a repair and some member that donated in that fund wanted to go get a flag repaired or something, we had access to that money right then and there. So just wanted everybody to know that we have done that with those 2 bank accounts. I will let you know that in the financials this month on the profit and loss, I've had mine printed 3 times and I still don't think they're right. So as going through the items on the profit and loss, the money's there. Some of the money is all there, but it's miscalculated. So it looked like, and those are one of the things that we're actually working on. But when you've got 4 reports and none of them match, it's kind of hard to really give you a profit and loss statement. Even though the money's there, the accountability is not where it needs to go.
And I'll note that we that we do know how much money we have coming in and how much is going out. What she's referring to is that when things are input, they're input into the wrong lines. Also to recap on the reason why you're not seeing the slides that you've been seeing in the past, it's because we asked Kinney County newspaper to not publish our financial information verbatim, and although we were told it wasn't going to happen, it did happen, and some of the information was not accurate. And as we're going out trying to get bids for several service items, it puts us at a disadvantage to have that information put on a news platform that is distributed, I believe, several counties wide as it goes all the way out to B.O.D. So there's that. But board, do you have any questions for the director on call or treasurer report?
I've got one question, Debbie. At some point, are we going to get to a point where we're going to be able to see the expenses by the individual amenities, meaning like the expenses for the RV park specifically, all of it broken down?
Yes, we are. As a matter of fact, I got them last night for the motel.
Okay.
I think about 11 o'clock I got those from our CPA.
Any other questions?
I just want to also say, if somebody wants to see the profit and loss, I've got everything here. I'm not hiding it, but I'm not comfortable putting it out right now because we are negotiating contracts at this time.
There is no executive officer's report. Committee reports from the airport. They are mowing again and keeping up with that, and that's about all they've got going on right now. Architecture.
Yeah.
Good morning. The Architecture Committee met 4 times in June, issued 18 permits, 14 repair applications, violation letters for lawns not being mowed, weeds, fence repair, building maintenance, yard and tree maintenance, junk cars, really been a problem, and hail damage repairs. I'd like to read a statement or a sentence from the CC&Rs. The Architecture Committee is created to administer the restrictions of high standards in development and maintenance. It's important that we uphold high standards, protect our property values, and I'm sorry, I lost my place. And keep Fort Clark a desirable place to live. If we are getting repairs done, don't wait until the last second to get a permit. Please try to come to the meeting if you can. The committee's been pretty lenient on assessments, and there is a $25 assessment for not getting a permit. Everyone is invited to our 9 a.m. Tuesday committee meeting. We take questions and concerns in our open session. If you need help filling out a permit, someone will help you. If you can turn in a violation complaint, you can email them to us or bring them to the meeting. Our email is arc@fortclark.com. Things that we are looking for: tall
15
grass,
seconds.
You're almost out of time.
tall grass, weeds, trees, palm fronds, broken glass, painting, broken fences, gates, junk trash. Clean your street gutters. Just give me a second when it's done. Clean your street gutters, rotted wood, bad roofs, junk cars, RVs, and campers. And I'll just finish by saying that we are not trying to create a hardship here. We want to clean your fort up. If you need help, let us know and we'll try to help you. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Golf committee.
I don't see anybody here from the golf committee, but the golf course is having a big fundraiser for 2 pieces of equipment that we would like to buy. It's going to be the first annual Cajun Bash, golf tournament and shrimp boil, It's going to be on the 27th of 2019. There's flyer says 4-man scramble. That is a 4-person scramble. It's $400 per team, and 100% payback to the golf course fundraiser to buy those 2 pieces of equipment.
What equipment is that, ma'am? What equipment are you trying to buy?
One of them is one of them's to fix a piece of, I don't know. I didn't plan on doing this. I thought the person would be here to get it. But I think it's very important the membership try to support this, the 27th.
Thank you. Preservation? Hi.
Basically, we still look at the same 2 projects we were looking at last month. The drainage around and in the post theater. Steve Gibble and myself and Philip went and took a look at the problem down in the basement, which has been going on for decades. And so we're going to be submitting a request for funds to try and correct that problem. So that'll be addressed at the August meeting. The other is the windows for Seminole Hall. We're down to the last group of windows, but they'll be the worst because there's 6 or 7 that don't exist at all. So we'll be submitting requests for funds to not only repair the ones that are there, but also to build and put in the ones that are missing. That's all.
Okay, great, thank you. Recycling?
Morning, everyone. Morning. May 31st, we sent almost 5 tons off to get rid of from the recycle center. That gathered us $189. But the big but is our shipper, our truck company, raised their fee from $400 a trip to $500. So we are now staying in the negative. That bill would be $329, plus the last time we shipped, we owed $190. So far we're negative by $520. Now they're not looking for us to pay because soon we'll be able to send a whole truckload of cardboard bales and or plastic bottles that are being baled actually starting today. So every month the prices go down. I do get a list. Last November, the cardboard that we sent was worth $100 a ton, and now it's down to like 62. So every month it seems aluminum cans is our other biggie, and last month it was $700 a ton. This month it's $530. So you can't get a ton of aluminum cans very
15 seconds.
quickly. So, but whatever we're getting, we're getting. So it's a labor, I'm telling you. All the volunteers, Chuck Fields owes a thank you. Chuck took his amazing, he had this amazing weed eater and cut all the weeds down around the recycle center.
Time's up. Sorry.
Okay, well, 2 other thank yous is Joel Agnes has been a champ. So,
Thank you.
questions?
No, we're good.
All right.
All right, community council?
Good morning. Since our last report to the board, we have had 3 movie nights. The cost for the movies was $420 and movie donations were $262. Movie concessions gross $299. This does not include the money spent on the concession items. Average attendance for the movies is 45 people. It appeared all who attended were members of the board or actual guests of those members. We awarded 2 $500 scholarships to 2 seniors at Brackett High School, Dakota Britton and Sam Palmer. Community service is one of the criteria we include in our application. We would like to remind folks that Fort Clark Days is not a fundraiser for Community Council. It is currently sponsored by Community Council. Our other 2 partnering sponsors, at least since 2013, have been the Gun Club and Fort Clark Springs Association. In the past, after all bills were paid, money was given to historic preservation. For 5 years, 40% of the profits were kept by Community Council for infrastructure support for Fort Clark Days, and 60% went to historic preservation. Historic preservation received no proceeds the 5th year because a profit was not made, although Community Council made sure all bills were paid. That 5-year 60-40 split, which went from 2014 to 2018, is now over, and all profits will be used for historic building preservation of some sort. Any questions? Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
So we're going to be moving on to old unfinished business. The first is to appoint a director to fill the board vacancy. During the May board meeting, the board considered appointment of a director. The end result was a 2-2 vote for Charles Fish and Charles Kirby. At last month's meeting, we addressed a petition that had gone around, and we had decided as a group that we were going to allow the petitioner the opportunity to represent that petition done correctly so that we could validate the names. And the board was actually, the director on call was informed that petitioner was not going to do that. So we did not get a resubmission of that petition. So we are currently looking at Charles Fish or Charles Kirby. So I will start with Mr. Link. What do you have?
I happen to be in contact with Charles Fish here recently, and unfortunately for personal reasons, he's not going to be able to take a position if he was voted in. So he's no longer going to be the viable candidate.
Is that it?
Well, being Mr. Fish is not going to be available to take the position, that leaves Mr. Kirby. I think it was, and I'm still good with Mr. Kirby.
Well, considering we still have to vote, Mr. Fish is no longer a candidate. All those in favor of appointing Charles Kirby to fill the board vacancy of John Hope, signify by raising your hand.
Do not need to make that as a motion.
Well, this is what you can make a motion. Go ahead. If you'd like to make a motion, you can do that.
I think that I would like to make a motion to appoint Mr. Kirby as the director to fill Mr. Hope's position.
I'll second that.
So all in favor of appointing Charles Kirby to fill the board vacancy of John Hope, please signify by raising your hand. Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Mr. Kirby, I'd like to invite you up to make a quick 2-minute or less statement if you have one. If not, that's fine too.
Appreciate the opportunity to serve the community. I've got a few things to say.
Speak into the microphone, sir.
Got a
You
few
can
things
pull
to
it out
say
of
to
this stand.
introduce myself. First and foremost, on the professional side, I have a bachelor's degree in finance that I obtained in the early 2000s, and I've got 15 years of financial experience in the private and government sector. More recently, over the last 12 years, I've been working for the government and have been working and leading a unit against financial crimes. On my personal side of the house, I've been a Fort resident for 2 years. I have a wife and 2 children that attend BISD, and I'm an avid outdoorsman, so I do enjoy that. My focus and commitment to this community is to help with financial matters. We have obvious needs that need to be addressed, and I'd like to bring my experience on board and assist in making this a healthy financial platform moving forward. We've been attracted to this community for all of the amenities and the diverse constituency, and we've enjoyed it immensely. So I'd like to bring my assets and experience to assist moving forward. Thank you.
Yes, I'm going to have to do the oath of office too for you, which I have here. So raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Charles Kirby,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will uphold and support
that I will uphold and support
the declarations of protective restrictions,
the declarations of protected restrictions,
bylaws, and regulations
bylaws, and regulations
governing the administration of Fort Clark Springs.
governing the administration of Fort Clark Springs.
I further swear
I further swear
that I will represent the interests
that I will represent the interests
of the membership to the best of my ability.
of the membership to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Welcome to the board.
Thank you.
Yeah, she's hand. Get you standing up.
Mr. Lee? Well,
And I have no issues with you sitting down and joining the fun if you'd like to. Put your right to work. Okay, so the second item on old business is awarding the roofing contract. At the last board meeting, the board decided to pursue seeing what the cost would be to split the bid between two roofers instead of awarding it to just one. The board was presented with the information from those two companies, and since we are at a point where we're talking about two specific companies, I'll go ahead and say who those companies are. Bidder B is AAA Roofing, and bidder C is Elite Roofing. So as I said, the board explored the option of having the two companies split the bid, and each company was given a list of the buildings based on the items in the proposal that were favored to each company, and they each submitted their amended bid. Adding those combined figures for splitting the bids wound up being in range of $10,000 to $20,000 less to execute. There are some minor details to work out once the final numbers have been turned into insurance as far as how much recoverable depreciation we wind up receiving. But there are no issues from the insurance company that I'm aware of if the board decides to split the bid. Both companies would be in an individual contract for their services, which is the draft of that is being worked on with our attorneys, regardless of which direction we wind up going. And that way we can hold the companies accountable, and then the companies can also in turn hold us accountable to the verbiage in those contracts. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Mr. Link. Do you have any inputs on this?
not so much an input, but kind of a question. I didn't see anything in here, so when I looked at this, one of the things it says is that Elite Roofing would like something down and the remainder when the job's complete. I didn't see anything that tells me what the something down is. I think that's kind of an important...
40%.
Okay. And so my question to you then, Debbie, is that something we can afford?
Once we decide to give the bids, we'll get our insurance check. Yes.
In short order? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Very good. Okay.
That
probably covers-
package I asked you to bring
I've got it.
has
It's
that.
right there.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. My only question. I'm good.
Ms. Isaacs?
Well, that was one of the questions I had, how much down there was going to be, but like I was also told that no matter what, as soon as we present the bids, then we get our insurance money, so the money will go into our account to pay as needed.
Mr. Kirby? Do you have any input? So, I'm looking for a motion. What would we prefer to do? Would we prefer to split the bid, or do we prefer to give the bid to one company?
I make the motion that we go ahead and split the bid as we talked about with them and move forward and let them both have half the project, basically.
I'm pretty much at this point also. Both companies give the other bids. I don't know if, I think that we'll get the roofs done in a quicker aspect than one company doing them. So I would pretty much be on the same thing with splitting the bids.
So I'm going to go ahead and open this up for member comments. There's 3 that are allotted for a minute. Are there any member comments to this?
Can you put them up on the board, the companies?
Elite.
Huh?
AAA and Elite.
Oh, you mean like put it up on a slide? I don't have time to prepare a slide just for that.
Oh,
The,
okay.
the information is here for the
So
board.
what
So,
was the?
so I'm not going to engage in a conversation with you, ma'am. If you'd like to come up and make your 1 minute, thank you so much, sir. Then you're welcome to do that. Ms. Watkinson, it appears you have something to say.
Good morning. My purpose is really just for education of everybody because some things get lost over the years. Community council did not always have a 501c3.
Ma'am, this is not pertaining to the roofing contract.
Oh, I'm
This-
sorry. I
These comments are
apologize.
for member,
I'm sorry.
for the roofing contract specifically.
I'm so
Are
sorry.
there any other members that have anything to say regarding the roofing contract? Okay, so it appears that I have a motion to split the bid between AAA roofing and Elite roofing. It appears that I have a second? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, so I have a second. All those in favor of awarding the bid to AAA roofing and to Elite roofing based on the list that was provided and the sum that they have provided in their bid, signify by raising your hand. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We will work, I think I see a person from Elite and possibly AAA. So we're going to work with you guys and get a contract worked out. So we'll iron out the little details that need to be addressed, but expect a call from somebody this week. All right, so new business. First item on new business is to consider approval of an employee handbook. The first, let's see, several months ago, the board asked the executive officer to review and revise the current employee handbook. It was instead sent to our legal counsel for review and revision. That service cost was approximately $1,500, and a completely new, legally sound, and professional handbook was provided to the board to review. After reviewing this handbook, it was definitely money well invested, but now the new board needs to consider approving the handbook. So I'm going to start with you, Mr. Link.
Okay, after spending some time reading it, I would say this is significantly more thorough than what we've had in the past. It covers a lot more, I hate to put it this way, but potential pitfalls, which is just part of it. It covers a lot of ground as far as not only what rights employees have, but a variety of different avenues to deal with most situations that could possibly arise during any sort of employment issue. I was very happy with it. I thought it was extremely well done. I think the lawyers did an excellent job putting it together. So I have no qualms with going ahead and approving this particular document.
Ms. Isaacs?
I thoroughly went through this too. I read it first originally, but there were a couple things added recently to it, and one of them was the grievance policies, which I think is very needed, and it spells it out right. And also the new time clock provisions in there, that also spells that out, so there's no question as what needs to be done, what you have to do. It's all in your manual, so I agree 100%.
Mr. Kirby, do you have anything to add?
Well, I haven't had the privilege of looking at it, so I've recused myself from a vote on it this time.
Okay. And from my perspective as well, it's very thorough. I actually went line by line and compared the current one to the new one. And the new one protects both our employees and our association to ensure that we're fairly employing individuals to work, but also holding them accountable for what is expected in return. And there is a section in the handbook where, Ms. Rodriguez, you're going to have to ensure that everyone reads this and signs it if it is passed. And that'll also help us with accountability to make sure that all the records are kept current as well. So I also do very strongly support it. Are there any member comments? We have room for 3 for up to 1 minute apiece. Okay. Seeing as there are no member comments, do I have a motion on the floor to accept this new employee handbook?
Yes, I make a motion that we accept the handbook as it is presented to us.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
Okay. All in favor of accepting this new employee handbook, signify by raising your hand. The motion passes 3-4 and 1 abstention. The next item on new business is to consider the award of a trapping contract. Now, the board received 3 bids for the trapping program, referred to in this discussion as bidder A, bidder B, and bidder C. Matt, the hunting manager, provided his inputs and also suggests that we limit the trapping program to no more than 80 doe per year. This is part of the harvesting/hunting program, and it's important to have his input before moving forward. Of note, Matt is working on enhancing the program, which will include lowering the member harvest price, as well as exploring the options of offering hunting packages to guest hunters. So board, you have those 3 bids in front of you. What Matt suggested was pursuing the bid that paid the most for the does. And in this case, that would be bidder A. So Mr. Link, I pass it on to you.
All right, so I like what he suggested about limiting the number of does, but is there a reason we did not also include a limit for the number of bucks?
Yes, because the bucks are valued at $1,500 and up. And at other ranches, those bucks, people go shoot them and they pay $5,000 for them. So part of his revamping of the program is he's going to increase the price for those bucks.
Okay. On a more general note, looking at the 3 bids, I thought bidder B presented a much more thorough bid and a much clearer picture of exactly what they're going to do and how they're going to do it, as opposed to bidder A and C. The rates are a little different for each one, so I had to kind of weed through that, but I was impressed with bidder B's thoroughness.
I was too. Ms. Isaacs, do you have anything?
Well, when I looked at the bids myself, it looked like bidder A did have them higher amount of money for their larger trophy bucks. When you looked at all the costs in there, I thought bidder A was the best choice.
I'm inclined to go with the recommendation of what Matt's suggesting, especially considering that he's going to be increasing several of the other costs for hunting the trophy bucks, because I learned a lot about the hunting program as a result of that. But I mean, I was very impressed as well with bidder B's package overall, because it was very thorough and very professionally put together. Are there any member comments? We have 3 member comments, up to 1 minute.
Hi, when he's talking about the trapping, I'm assuming we're just going to deal with the access deer. Is that the only ones we're going to trap?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and my next question is, what was the rationale behind only 80 does?
It's very
There's a hell of a
long.
lot more does running around.
It's a very long, complicated process.
Well, how can you?
But to make it as very clear and simple as possible is part of the management system for managing wildlife is to ensure that you're not removing all of your wildlife and preventing your wildlife from repopulating so that you can in fact have something to kill. So that's essentially
I do
why
know that. Has Texas Wildlife been informed of this? Are they involved? And they did a survey to find out how many we have?
Yes,
Okay, is there a way I can get a copy of that survey?
sure.
Okay, thank you. And when is this trapping going to occur?
We have to work that out. Those are details that we need to figure out. Yes.
Matt would know that?
Matt would be in charge of that, yes.
Okay, and my other question is the same thing. I talked to Matt and everybody knows this. You gotta drop the membership fee to go kill these deer. There was 80 does who were in one little area, and I know I'm going on, but that's
Going to get discussed at a separate time. The hunting program is not, I mean, it's related, but
Right.
the actual hunting program is not what we're discussing today.
right.
So that has been discussed and it will be addressed, but it's not being addressed right now, just
So,
so you know.
okay, and I have
So
to.
your time is up, I'm so sorry.
I think the members should know when this hunting is going to occur.
We will give you the information.
Okay, thanks, Bill.
Are there any other comments from anyone else? Okay, so there are no other comments. Do you have any reattacks, Mr. Link?
I do not.
Ms. Isaacs?
I do not.
Mr. Kirby? Do you have time to read it all yet?
I do, and looking over this, bidder A is substantially higher price per doe. For trapping, it really isn't that complicated, and it's not hunting, it's trapping. So, giving the forward an opportunity to know when it's occurring is important, but I don't see a whole lot of dangerous activity going on without people knowing. But it would be nice to know when it is happening and how it is coming along. But that is all I have to say.
So do I have any motions to accept anything, or to change anything, or to ask other questions of these bidders?
I would make a motion, we go with, A. We accept, bidder A's project, proposal.
I would second that motion, but with the caveat that we get a much better detailed information on exactly what their process is going to be before we finally sign off on it, because I don't have an issue with the dollar amounts, but I kind of have an issue with the fact that there was very little information provided with that bid.
I would agree. So I have a motion to award this contract to bidder A, and I have a second with some provisions of working out specific details to include the parameters to which they'll operate and the timeline and whatnot. So I have a motion and I have a second. All those in favor of voting for bidder A, signify by raising your hand. That passes unanimously. Bidder A is, let's see what this company is called, J.J. Ducharme. So that is who bidder A is. And we will contact them and we will nail that down. And it could be that once we discuss the details of it, we might not be pleased with that and we might have to do some more negotiating. So we will report back to that as such. The third action item on the agenda is to consider expenditure of $2,137.18 for a swim park slide. And the swim park generated $2,187.69 from the 4th of July, which is being proposed to put into an improvement to the swim park. There is no impact on our insurance, and our insurance guy is right here, so if you don't believe me, there he is. Sorry. I know. There is no impact on our insurance for making the improvement, and there is no negative impact to the structure of the pool for making the improvement. The board is being asked to consider the expenditure. Mr. Link, I'll start with you.
All right. I love the idea of the slide, but I don't love the idea of buying a slide when we haven't fixed the bathrooms yet. And by fixing the bathrooms, that not only includes fixing the fixtures, but it includes actually putting a door on there that can be properly locked, unlike that hasp block that's been on there that's been broken off of there before. So my concern is why are we spending this money on a slide when we should be fixing a permanent fixture first?
That's a great concern. I did ask Philip that question. And the repairs to the bathroom are part of their maintenance expenses. That's what I was told. So it's a budgeted item that they should just be able to go in and fix. And he did look at it this week to try to permanently fix that leak under the sink. But the issue we're facing is that the kids are breaking into the bathroom and they are still defacing the property.
Right. So my question is, what are we doing to address the issue with the doors as far as breaking in? They need to be exterior doors. They need to be steel doors with an actual deadbolt.
We can look at spending that money on doors instead.
Okay. But you're saying that money's just going to come from the repair fund as opposed to from the excess of the
He says that that's a maintenance expense. So,
okay.
So we can table this and we can ask him to look at it and see exactly where he's going to find that money. I mean, that's an option. Ms. Essex?
Well, again, at this point in time, when we're still trying to figure out where we're going to get money to do repairs and other items, I think that money would be well spent on cameras down there somewhere of who's going in and out of those bathrooms, who could potentially be the people that's defacing our property. And then we've also got the issue with the engineer's report. I mean, at this point in time, I just don't think it's a wise time to spend the money because you've only got another month for summer anyhow to enjoy that slide as people paying to get in down there.
Okay. Mr. Kirby?
I concur that we should be looking at a couple of other items, and we should table this until we have clarity on maybe security and the doors.
So do we have a motion to table, or do we have a motion to not address this at all? We need a motion.
I'd like, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. No,
I'll make a motion to table this.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor of tabling this to a later point in time, signify by raising your hand. That passes unanimously. This is tabled. The fourth item on the agenda is to discuss the mowing contract renewal. We are currently paying approximately $11,000 a month on our current contract. There was never, when this was passed last year, we were not provided a map to which we knew exactly where the mowing was going to be taking place. We did not have a schedule. And as a result, over the past year, it's kind of been a work in progress to figure out what will be done when. But when the contract was entered into last year, the agreed upon amount was $9,950.73 per month. There were definitely some hiccups throughout the year, but what was provided to the board is the proposed area of responsibility for the mowing company now that we're going into a new year to do this. After talking with maintenance and a random sampling of membership, the consensus is that contracting this service out is beneficial to the board, so the board needs to decide how we want to move forward. The current contract expires August 16th. My recommendation is to request for bids with a deadline for submissions being August 1st, and the preference is to attain at least 3 bids so the board can award the contract at the August meeting. Mr. Link?
Yeah, so one of the issues that I had with this contract when I read through it is there's no provisions in there to make changes. I mean, it doesn't specifically prohibit you from making changes, but it doesn't guarantee. There's nothing written in there that says, hey, if you need to make a change to something, you can do it. So I don't like the way this contract was originally written. I don't know that I'm going to go into speaking about the actual performance, but what I am going to say is that the other thing is that I hesitate to call them aerials. They are aerial shots, but the aerial shots that were provided, they're not overheads, so they're not really that great of a map for any contractor to be working with. I would like to see us go back to the drawing board, and to your suggestion, go out and get at least 3 bids for a contract.
Ms. Isaacs?
I also think we need to go out and get three bids, and it seems like there was also a member that had somebody they'd like to make a bid also. But this is a pretty big project, so I think 3 bids are necessary.
Mr. Kirby?
I support 3 bids.
Do we have any member comments? Up to 3 for 1 minute apiece. Okay. So we do not have to vote to have 3 bids, but we can make an announcement. Does anyone have an issue, board, with requesting for bids with a deadline of August 1st so that we have the ability to go back and forth before the board meeting? Is that acceptable?
Go with that.
Okay, so consider this an official announcement that we are accepting bids. I see you on Facebook, Lynn. We're accepting bids for the mowing contracts to be discussed in the August board meeting, and those bids will be due August 1st. We will have a packet for you with a list of the areas that will be required to be mowed, and as well as a map, an aerial map, so that you have an indication of what it is. We will make our employees available to provide tours if needed, but again, that bid will be due on August the 1st. Okay. Next item on the agenda is discussion of the Community Council request for Fort Clark Springs support. Board, you received an electronic copy of the request and also a hard copy here in your packets with the request the Community Council would like from the fort. Mr. Link, I defer to you.
I'm gonna time myself in this one so I don't go over. All right, there's a lot here, and without belaboring too much of this, most of this I personally have no issue supporting. There are a couple questions I have about certain things, but they could be addressed with community council after the fact. Overall, so we have this request that was submitted, and then I can only assume Debbie, you prepared the last page with the figures on there?
No,
They provided
Oh,
that
they did,
information.
okay, they provided that, okay. The vast majority of what I see on here, I'm gonna be frank, most of these amenities aren't rented or used. They sit empty most of the time anyways. So I have no issue with really much of this, with two exceptions. The RV spaces, our RV park's been relatively full. I'm not sure that there's not a way we can't make this happen, but the request for 3 spaces for 5 nights,
Which they did amend, they said they only needed for like 2 or 3 nights.
okay. I'd like to hear, I guess I'd like some more information from the RV park on where we're at with our occupancy rate right now, what they project it to be in March, because they're gonna have a much better idea than I do on what that would be. The other thing is the service club. It's one of the few things we actually rent. I love Fort Clark Days. I want it to happen. I was vocal about it last year. I guess the only thing I can say is the only one of these venues I can't see just letting them use completely cost-free is that one, but I'm open to it. That's the only thing that I have any pause on. As far as everything else in here goes, I support all of it.
Ms. Isaacs?
One of the things that I was looking at on the items was Dickman Hall. I don't know why we wouldn't do something ourselves for a New Year's Eve party and use that venue ourselves to raise money to help support the bar. There wasn't a whole lot of information on the Kentucky Derby, the Creekside, at $250. That is a Saturday. Saturdays are one of our bigger income producing days on the golf course. But again, there's not much information of what they're wanting there either. And of course, my concern originally was the 5 RV spaces, but again, the Winter Texans are usually still here, and with all the workers in here, that might be a problem to get those 3 RV spaces. I'm not sure. A lot of the dates, I don't know, but some of the things that they're wanting, like for Valentine's Day, I thought that the old quarry normally has been doing the Valentine's Day. And there was one other thing on here that somebody else has picked up, and it looks like community council's wanting to take that day over also. So those are my concerns.
Mr. Kirby, do you want to add anything, or do you want to read that some more?
Well, I do need to review it some more, but I'm curious as to a timeline on when we need to get this passed. I see it looks like it starts in the fall of 2019.
Right, so we don't have to make a decision today, that's why we're discussing it.
Okay.
So, just discussion. My big issue with it is that the dates were not deconflicted with other organizations. Specifically, like you mentioned, Ms. Isaacs, Old Quarry Society has a tendency to do their dinner theater for Valentine's Day. And I do not want to see us competing with other organizations that are going to try to do stuff. They may not be doing it, I don't know. But the other organization would be our bar. I don't know what was deconflicted there. I do know that I did ask Philip if there was anything planned, and he said that the new bar manager is currently formulating a plan of what he would like to do. So that would be my first concern, that this is not deconflicted with other organizations. So the second concern I have is that I asked, I'm the one who requested seeing a full plan for the year, because I think it's important, if you're going to want support, that you lay it all out on the table. And what I noticed in this entire plan was that all it was is, and I understand Fort Clark Days is important, I support Fort Clark Days, I did not know that it hadn't been approved, but that'll be something we deal with probably later. But in this plan that was presented to us, the only thing that was in here is how do we fundraise to support Fort Clark Days. Community Council, as I learned about it in its history, was that Community Council actually gave back to the community as well. And I did pose the question to Community Council to ask them, well, what else are you guys doing? Are you going to do anything for membership? And what they did indicate was that they have an open house that they did not put on here. And then there's some other stuff that you guys will probably have to catch up on with your emails. But those are my two concerns. That, I think it's great they want to fundraise, but at the same time, if they're going to be an entity that gives back to the community, I'd like to also see how they're doing that for the community. And then as far as fundraising is concerned as well, after enduring the 4th of July, I now understand that in a 5-week span, it's very doable to raise $9,800 and execute your event without having to get a penny out of the fort. I just did it. So I'd like to see a more aggressive plan to see how you're going to procure those sponsorships, because if I can do it for 4th of July and I'm not a 501c3, I think a 501c3 might have a little bit stronger of a leg to stand on, especially for tax reporting purposes. So those are my inputs on that. Mr. Link, do you have anything to add?
Just one more thing, and I may be misinterpreting this. This is one of the things I wanted to follow up with them on, but the New Year's Eve dance, I kind of assumed they wanted to use upstairs at Dickman Hall because it's a dance. That's a dance floor upstairs. So it might be possible to do both events at once.
Right, and that's what I'm saying, like, it didn't get deconflicted. Nobody's communicating with anyone else, which is the concern.
Right. That's all I have.
Okay, Ms. Isaacs, do you have anything else?
I have nothing else.
Okay, Mr. Kirby?
No.
I'll now open it for member inputs, and there are 4, but I'm going to only call the first 3, unless one of them says they don't want to do it. Ms. Watkinson?
Okay, I was more into the education thing rather than addressing some of your questions. I'm hoping that you will allow more time for you to actually ask us questions so that we can give that information back to you. Community Council is not always a 501c3. In 2008, Director Isaacs and Linda O'Brien wrote the application for a 501c3 specifically for supporting Fort Clark Days and making it easier for us to raise funds. We have raised funds, and we raised our funds last year to cover our expenses, or almost all of them in 2018. Community Council covered that which was not covered. Now, we have no problem with paying for some of the venues if that will make it more palatable to the board. The longer we go without approval for things, the longer it's going to be before we can send out our sponsorship letters. Because until we have something from the board saying we can proceed and go forward, we cannot go and seek money. So I'm kind of at a loss, because I thought that if you had questions, you would be asking us and we could directly answer those. We do not want to be in conflict with anybody that is doing anything. Last year, as far as I know, the New Year's Eve event was done. Does anybody remember who it was done by? Pardon me? Oh, maybe it was done by the fort. And the year before it was done by Old Quarry. They said they would never do it again. We are not in conflict with Old Quarry on anything to our knowledge. We did do some talking back and forth with Old Quarry so that we would not be in conflict with them. We changed one of our movie nights so that would work out better for them as well. We have no intent of conflicting with anybody.
Okay, I gave you 2 minutes just to
I'm so
give you
sorry.
some extra time. It's okay. If I could say something.
Yes, please.
We need to follow up with you on some of this.
Yes,
Please.
I understand completely your concern about getting it done. I'm going to suggest to the board that once we've gotten those concerns answered among us, that we just approve it via email vote as opposed to having to wait to the board meeting, if we're okay with that.
We can definitely look at it. I'm not opposed to it. I mean, but here's my, like you said, the sponsorship letter. I didn't see that in here. And if you're going to, like with a sponsorship letter, usually that also entails the fort providing advertising space or something. And if you're asking the fort to allow for those kinds of things, that sponsorship letter should have been in here too.
Okay, the sponsorship letter has been, this is a mock-up of it. When you're talking about advertising and on the fence out front, those are things that have been in place for years. We did not realize that we were going to have to go back and do things that have already been in place and like our grandfather did and are part of what has been in place. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I actually I had relayed that to the Fort Clark Days chair. That if there's a specific sponsorship request that the fort is going to have to execute as well as part of that. That's also part that fence is the fort's fence, so you can't just go throw stuff up on it. And I understand that I understand the fence is falling apart, and I also understand that things have been done a certain way in the past. But it was very clearly detailed that whatever you guys need all needs to be in one pile so that we can look at it all at one time. You can email it. Well, you can email it to us, and that's totally fine. But you know, I don't have any opposition to having to deal with it over email.
Do you have any more of these copies that we can just go ahead and give out to the board now?
So I have Kathy Worm with your comment.
And this is the insurance information.
You can scratch out Wally because.
Okay, we'll scratch out Wally.
Is he the third one?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, keep Wally. Who's in charge of Wally this
So
morning?
you're the second one, and maybe you have 1 minute.
No, I've got to step here, or else I really want to, really truly, then I would think, okay, I'm going to try this with Meg. There's absolutely no way that anybody in community council that is involved with Fort Clark Days can answer all the questions and get some straight answers in 2 minutes. I would really like to suggest that maybe the officers of Fort Community Council can meet with you people so that we can answer these things. You gave us a list of, and I agree, you gave us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 things. We can't answer those 11 things in 2 minutes.
But nobody's asking you to answer those in right here, ma'am. But this portion of the meeting is for you to provide your input so that we can use that to move forward.
So I'd like to make a suggestion that Fort Clark Community Council officers meet with Fort Clark Association Board and talk about this, because we cannot keep delaying this. And this is the first year that has been, really truly, we feel like we're being run through the ringer. And there is a discussion. I think, Bill, you can press that button, but is there a chance that we can have a meeting with you people, person to person, so that we can iron out these questions? Because a lot of things that you have on here does not pertain to Fort Clark Days.
No, and honestly, when you propose an annual plan, like I said before, an annual plan, it's supposed to encompass everything that you wanted from the fort. Everything, not just Fort Clark Days, but all of it. That way you have a plan you can execute, and you're not sitting here every month going month to month, can we do this, can we do this? We would prefer to approve it all at one time so that it is not something that every month we have to have this exact same conversation. So as far as the email that you're talking about, that does not pertain just to Fort Clark Days. That's in general. And so, you know, everything needs to be in writing, because we've had discussions in person with community council, and it doesn't end well. So we need it all in writing, and then we need to move forward. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the next name. Mr. Warm, are you here?
Wally can't make it.
Okay, so then I'm going to move to Pat Sheedy. I'm sorry, ma'am.
I can't be his proxy?
No, ma'am, you can't. So it's Ms. Pat Sheedy, also with regard to Fort Clark Days.
No, mine's not for that. It's something totally else.
Okay, well, then we'll remove that name as well. So where we're left at with this is we've got some other questions. I wish we had time, ma'am. We're not entertaining anything outside of this.
I didn't know what to sign.
I understand that, ma'am,
So
but
how can I say what I need to say?
you can, if it's not part of the agenda, then you can talk to a board member afterwards.
So I can speak to one of y'all.
And yes, ma'am, and we're not having a two-way conversation anymore. We need to get moving with the meeting. So where we're at this point is that we still have some questions. I wish we did have a lot of time to have one-on-one meetings with everybody, But unfortunately, it's very difficult to accommodate 5 people's schedules with other boards as well. So what I'd like to see is if we can get as much of this ironed out, big picture, on email, and then if we need to really have a one-on-one conversation, we maybe appoint the director on call to be a proxy for the board. And
That
if
was the
anybody
primary
else,
reason I suggested email, is because
Yeah.
you're talking about, 9 to 10 people's schedules all coming together at once, and that might take us 3 weeks, whereas we
Yeah.
might be able to do this by email in a week or 2 weeks. So,
But just keep in mind, for an email vote, all members have to vote yes or no. If we got one member that doesn't, it does not count.
I'm not even suggesting we vote immediately. I'm suggesting that if we've got questions, we iron them out. If we absolutely feel like we have to find time to meet in person, then we discuss that via email and decide that we need to do that. But there's nothing for us to vote on right this moment, but are we agreeing that we want to pursue this via email and get all the information? And if there's lingering questions or details that we need to work out, we hash that out in person.
yes.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what we're going to do moving forward. Community council. That's the way we're going to work with that. All right. So the next thing is announcements. Every Wednesday is Margarita Night at Dickman Lounge. July 27th, as Ms. Isaacs indicated, is the end of month golf tournament, which is also a fundraiser, $400 for a 4-person team. And we will receive an announcement at some point to what that is going to help purchase. Also, our next beautification project is going to be in August. It's going to be focused on renovating the motel rooms. We're going to be closing down a wing of them in August so that we can go attack those rooms. So if anybody's interested in assisting, we very much need that assistance. That motel generates quite a bit of revenue for this sport, so we gotta have those rooms operational. Once the beds and the doors have been completed, those rates will be going up as well. Also in August, I'm going to be starting a Golf with the President event. I've scheduled a tea time in August, September, and October, and I have 3 spots on that tea time for guests. Any member is welcome to join me. I am not a golfer, by the way. However, you may not sign up back-to-back months. There must be at least 3 months between the last time you sign up. This will give our members an opportunity to sign up as they wish. And it's only going to be 9 holes. And I'm glad it's funny for one person back there. This is my way of making myself available to membership, also while utilizing one of our amenities. I think it's like $10 to do the golf. In no way will I commit the board to do anything during this time, but I will be publishing the dates on my president page for the coming days. So there's that. Are there any announcements that I missed?
I'm aware of.
Okay. And this is our contact information. The director on call this month is going to be myself, Maria Perkins, and Mr. Link is going to be my backup. At this time, do I have a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss legal matters, contract matters, employee matters, and financial matters?
I make a motion that we adjourn to executive session to discuss the matters you just mentioned.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor of adjourning to executive session, signify by raising your hand. Okay. Yeah, we are adjourned to executive session at 10:42. Let's run back.
No, Carol said. She was a little quiet. Yes.
Hang on, I want to put a description on here.
Thank you, ma'am.
We're rolling. Oh wait, not me. Not on me, not on me. That was scary.
All right, I'm going to call this meeting back to order from the executive session at 12:05. And I will give you a synopsis of what was done. In executive session, our insurance representative, Mr. Blush, visited with us to discuss the game plan for renewing our insurance policy. We discussed several legal matters to include the status of the termination of the CSI and Pitney Bowes contracts, both of which are continuing to pend attorney correspondence. We did consider some contract matters. We discussed the final contract for the doors. That was already done, but I wanted for everyone to see the contract that the lawyers did draft for us. That master service contract will be utilized for all contracts that the board, or the Ford, excuse me, engages in the future. And we discussed an employee grievance and the way ahead with that. We also discussed some financial matters and the way ahead with that, as well as we prepared to go into the budget for the fiscal year 2020. We did not consider a variance request based on several of the details surrounding that, so we did not consider that variance request, and we did not consider a late fee waiver that was presented to us. Did I miss anything from anyone?
I don't think so.
What waiver?
Excuse me?
What word did you say?
Late fee waiver. We did not consider that. So we have nothing to vote on. The next regular board meeting will be Wednesday, August 21st at 9:30 in the morning in the boardroom. And the director on call for this month is Maria Perkins, myself. The backup is Mr. Link. And let me ensure that I have nothing else. Okay, I have nothing else. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All those in favor of adjourning the meeting, please state by signifying your hand. Unanimous. The meeting is adjourned at 12:07.
All right, there you go.
You got two more.
I know, there's a lot of thank you notes. We're saying thank you notes galore.
Did I get both of them? Do you need both stacks?
You probably want to go look and make sure. I think I did.
All right.
Yes,
As long as
you
it
do.
was-
I hand wrote every one of those guys.
That's an awful lot.
2 weeks to do it. But I